Hey there, Chris Westfall again. So heading to work again today, and I just want to share with you something that recently happened. It may help you in your business. I shared it recently on a webinar over at MedicareAgentTraining.com just as a sideline, but it was reinforced to me again yesterday, so I figured this would be a good time to bring it up.
You are listening to the Senior Agent Podcast. This podcast is for insurance agents that are helping America's seniors with their financial choices. Here is your host, Christopher Westfall.
Spoke with a woman who found me on the internet. She called in about a week ago, and she was doing the research for both of them, husband and wife. They're both turning 65 in the same month. So she found something that I had posted on the internet helpful, and she gave me a call, and she said, "Can you please look at the rates?" So I gave her the rates, and it was in her particular state, Mutual of Omaha and Aetna, within 50 cents of each other on Plan G. So I told her about both companies. Told her I was licensed with both companies, would be happy to accommodate her on both. And she said, well, tell me some of the history on both. So I told her about Mutual of Omaha. They were just turned into Omaha Insurance Company, and before that they were United of Omaha in her state. And that from time to time, after a few years, they do reinvent themselves into a new carrier. They have in the past. And what happens in that case is they close off a risk pool of their old people, like in this case United of Omaha, and no one new can go into that new group. So the people that are on that old group are just going to have rate increases based on an aging population rather than any new turning 65 people coming in that are younger and healthier, thus keeping the overall rates a little bit less than they would have otherwise been with just an aging population where people can jump ship to a new company if they're healthy, but if they're not, they're going to stay put. So typically with a closed risk pool like that, you've got an aging population with deteriorating health, or otherwise they would have left. Meanwhile, Omaha Insurance Company in that state was less than 2 years old, brand new, building up their population of people and all that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, Aetna had been in that market for over 20 years. Very good rate stability on Plan G, actual rate reductions in many states on Plan G because that's where they want to compete. They want to keep those rates low and not have to replace people. I explained that to her. She said she's going to take it under consideration. Do her own research, because that's the way she does things, and she's going to get back to me. Well, before I got off the call, I did what I always advocate to do, and I said, okay, since you're seriously considering this, would you mind if I just drop my card in the mail to you, in the real mail to you, so that in case you lose my phone number, you'll have it readily available, and I can just document what we talked about here today in case you need it written down, and you'll get a little card from me. She said, yeah, that's great. So I did what I said. I put a card in the mail to her, just using my what I call my Medicare lead campaign through send out cards. It took about a minute and a half, and cost me somewhere around $1 for that. She called me back yesterday and she said, you know what? I did my research and I found out that you're right. And I called both companies and found out that everything that you said is right on the rates and everything like that. And, you know, I've had a lot of agents contacting me, and some of them are giving me one company versus another. But the reason I want to go with you is because you're the only one that followed up in a tangible way. I said, well, what do you mean? She said, you're the only one that put a card in the mail to me. And frankly, I had lost your number. And here comes this card in the mail to me with your picture in there, with a phone number, where to call. And it was just a really nice sense of follow-up. And I appreciate that. And I said, well, that's kind of an indication of what I'm going to do in the future if you're my client, is follow up with you, because I think it's so important not just to do an application and disappear. She said, okay, let's do it. So we wrote 2 more people with Aetna. Now, if I look over the lifetime value of the client, assuming in 6 years they're going to be with me for that carrier or any other ones in the future, and assuming rate increases may cause them to move to another carrier, not sure. But if they do, then I'll get a raise every time they do move to another carrier. Assuming they'll be with me just for 6 years, and they're 65 years old, so they have a lifetime ahead of them, but just 6 years, right? I estimate that that's roughly $1,800 per person. So for a $1 investment, I now reaped $3,600 lifetime value minimum for that couple. And if I follow up with them, if I do what I said I'm going to do with them, it's going to be a lifetime of referrals, possibly other cross-selling opportunities as we talk about life insurance in our follow-up campaign, annuities, and moving into safe money. Other opportunities then, because of that relationship, because I did what I said I was going to do, and I separated myself from the competition by putting something in writing and just merely following up with them. It's just amazing how many times people don't follow up with a person who has identified themselves as a perfect prospect for you. Yes, they're shopping. Yes, they're in the market. What are you going to do to separate yourself from somebody else? Now, I'm not trying to make a sales pitch for send out cards. Lord knows they've caused me a lot of grief with their glitches over the years. All I'm saying is following up in some manner, some form or fashion. You can go to the dollar store, or you can go to Walmart, Target, somewhere else, and get, a stack of thank you cards, and just thanking them for the opportunity to possibly earn their business, and write in their handwritten note, hey, I enjoyed talking to you today, and then putting your business card in there, which should have your photo in there. See the interview we did with Susan from the National Medicare Supplement Conference, where she talked about having your photo in your business card and how much that separates you from the competition and really identifies who you are. And without that, Susan says, you look like you're trying to hide something. You're trying to hide who you are because you don't put your face out there. So put your face on your business card, insert your business card if you're going to do a handwritten thing, or if you're going to use an automated program like Send Out Cards, and I'm not sure if there's anything else like it in the market, but in there you can put your photo in the card too. And so doing that kind of follow-up does separate you, and I'm telling you, the fortune is in the follow-up. And then after you make that person a client, you've got to follow up with them. And I tell my assistant the most important thing possible is as soon as we ink an application, that's an old term, we don't use ink anymore, but as soon as we effect the electronic signature on the application, we need to immediately get something in their hands. Immediately, because as is the case in any sales process, you have buyer's remorse set in. Did I do the right thing? Oh, this agent I just met, he's so much nicer than the guy that I, spent time on the phone doing the application with. I like him. He comes to my house. He's super nice. Do I really want to keep my application with that guy that I talked to over the phone? You have got to solidify and make it tangible your virtual conversation. It's great to sell over the phone. It absolutely is. But as soon as humanly possible, put something in their hands. Now, I don't do any mail out of my office, nothing. I don't send brochures, I don't send applications, I don't send forms, I don't send business cards, I don't send anything through the mail. I can't tell you the last time I mailed something out. But what I do is I use, their service at Send Out Cards for an immediate follow-up campaign. So when somebody does sign up with me, they get a series of cards. They get 4 cards from me. They get an immediate acknowledgement of the application. Thank you for your business. I'm going to look out for you over the years. If you have any questions at all, please call me. You'll be hearing from the insurance company very soon. Honored to have your business, that kind of thing. And then the second card is just checking on you. It's a cute little card. And it says, I'm just checking on you to see if you have any additional questions now. Thank you again for being my client. Here's my phone number in case you lost it. The third card is, you should have received all your materials by now. If not, please reach out and let me know. Oh, by the way, who do you know that's over 65 that we can possibly help with shopping their Medicare plans? If you know anybody, please give them our information. I'd really appreciate it. And then the fourth one is going to be their birthday card, which goes out automatically right prior to their birthday, so they receive it on or right before their birthday. That kind of touch makes all the difference in the world, because I firmly believe that this generation, the senior generation right now, is probably the last generation that truly appreciates the effect of a greeting card, getting it in the mail, getting something that they can hold in their hands. And the cards that I send are going out with blue ink, which is a handwritten font, so it looks like somebody took the time to write it with the blue ink pen, and it actually gets opened. And then the back of the card has my logo on it with my phone number, again, as an opportunity for them to call. But again, not a plug for that particular method of sending out cards. I just want to encourage you that the follow-up is worth it. And the question would be, have I sent out cards in the past to people that I spoke with that I thought were good prospects and nothing ended up coming out with it? Sure. But what if I spend 20 or 50 prospect opportunities and speaking to somebody, and I sent the card out to them, and I asked their permission first every time? Can I have your permission to send a card in the mail to them? That's what I call a minor commitment. They're going to give me a yes, and I'm going to make a commitment to put a card of mine in the mail to them. And then I follow up on that commitment. So that tells them one big important thing. I do what I say I'm going to do. And then the other psychological benefit, which is this guy that's in the virtual world that I just saw on the internet or I just heard over the phone for the first time is real. Look at that. There's a picture of him, or there's a picture of him and his family. So it really does good to solidify the fact that you're a real person. You're not just over the phone. What you say is true. They can find you. It's got your address. It's got your name, your phone number, all that kind of stuff on there. You're not trying to hide from anybody or anything. And it's made a world of difference in my business. And if you think back over the last, let's say, 20 prospects that you spoke to, and you gave the rates to, and you gave them the opportunity, and it looks perfect, why did that person not join? Well, if only, let's say only 10 or 20% of the reason is because you didn't make it real. Let's say if just 20% of the people that would have bought from you didn't buy because there's nothing to follow up with it and follow up automatically. And I'm talking about taking 1 to 2 minutes at the end of the conversation to take their name and address and put it in a system and fire it off to them. That's all. But that little micro investment on your part can reap huge rewards if only 20% of the people that you talk to turn into conversions that otherwise would not. So I encourage you, do the follow-up, do the hard thing, which is really not that hard. Invest in your business. Take the time, and if you want to do a handwritten card, all the better. And take the 5 minutes to write it, lick a stamp, stick it on there, make it real, all the better. But it is worth it because this generation appreciates it more than any in the past. I hope that's been a little nugget that's been helpful to you. My name is Christopher Westfall. I'm over at a website called MedicareAgentTraining.com. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Senior Agent Podcast. For more information and other episodes, visit SeniorAgentPodcast.com.